Most people who have something amazing to share with the world that could change people's lives, they struggle because they don't know how valuable they truly are. And what ends up happening is they end up following mainstream marketing advice that sounds nice on paper, but doesn't work because it's meant for 20-year-old kids who are trying to sell things on the internet, not for you, not someone who has deep value and depth. And if you're watching this right now and you're frustrated because you want to change people's lives or you know how to transform people's lives and you followed all the advice, but it's just not working. Either people aren't showing up for your stuff or the wrong people are showing up and it's just exhausting and you're doing so much. And that original fire and spark that was there in the first place that brought you to this work is fading. Then this video is for you. I know your pain. I have been there, and I'm going to show you the exact process I've been through that I now take my clients through to get out of that hell and step into a completely new way of doing things. A way where you stand in who you truly are, your true value, where people naturally gravitate to you who want to pay you way more while you do way less, while creating way more impact and results in people's lives. Well, let's get into it. So the first thing to realize here is that you are way more valuable than you think, and you're likely hiding your inner Michael Jackson. Imagine Michael Jackson comes back to life and he forgets who he is. Instead of just going out and doing his Michael Jackson thing on stage and naturally bringing people to him who want to see him, he gets worried about his marketing and his funnel and what should I offer and how should I phrase it, and just goes off and starts teaching dancing for $60 an hour. That would be crazy, right? People would still come to his classes, but it would be a complete betrayal of his deep calling and who he really is. And it would make things so much more difficult for him. And I guarantee you, likely the very same thing is happening for you. Now, you might say, okay, I'm not somebody famous. I don't have that level of talent. I'm not Michael Jackson. And you're wrong. There is actually something way more powerful inside of you than you could imagine, and a value that is so potent. The problem is it's just been dampened by years of misinformation and general mainstream marketing advice. And to demonstrate this, I'm going to show you Jim Carrey climbing out of the ass of a rhinoceros. This is a moment in an experience that can ultimately change your life and burn itself into your memory forever. And every single time I think about it, I still crack up laughing. All right, it's a magic moment. And everyone in business basically thinks that your value is a straight line. It's about taking someone from point A to point B. Let's say that someone is sick and you're a gifted healer and you can take them through a journey and make them well. Maybe you're your yoga teacher and you can help someone get well through yoga. Or maybe you are a business expert or a men's coach and you can take someone from an unwell situation internally into a better situation. And that's your value. And that's what most people think. And it's not entirely incorrect, but it's a very flat perspective. And when you view your value through that flat perspective, well, it's basically like saying Jim Carrey is someone that makes people laugh through funny things. It's kind of a description, but it would never encapsulate the moment of Jim Carrey climbing out of the ass of a rhinoceros. You have to see it in order to understand who Jim Carrey is. And this is the difference between flatlining your value and actually going deep diving into the verticality of your value. Because in reality, your value is this. It's these magic moments like Jim Carrey climbing out of the butt of a rhinoceros. It's the moments where you go from your head to your heart, that 8-inch journey, and all of a sudden, everything is different. Now, have you ever had a moment like this where you're with a teacher, with a wisdom keeper or a guide, a mentor, or maybe with someone you love or friend or lover, or maybe you're reading an inspiring book and all of a sudden you realize something. Something is seen. And in that moment, everything changes. who you thought you were before and after is completely different. Something you didn't understand before, all of a sudden now is seen from a completely different vantage point. And it was just one moment. And you know that your life will be different from now on because everything is different. You cannot unsee what you just saw. That is what true value is. And as someone who holds a vast amount of experience in whatever field that you have, you are capable of facilitating those kind of experiences for people. And this is the only thing that actually ever changes someone's life. The only reason why this linear definition even makes sense is because somewhere along that journey, someone is going to have this experience. But without understanding this, we can get completely lost in this and say, okay, this is my value and I'm going to systemize this and define myself as this all the time. And it gets us further and further away from these types of experiences. And in reality, you're not really a flat line. You're more like this vertical pillar of energy. You are on a journey. You're committed to your inner Michael Jackson. You're on a trajectory into your passion, into your calling, into your craft. And what that does is it evolves you. And other people sense that you are evolving, that you are on a trajectory towards something. And they are drawn to the proximity of this field. And just by virtue of being around you, the proclivity of them having these types of experiences increases. And this is what true value actually is. And this is at the deepest level what people actually want, to be as close as to you as possible so they can have these types of experiences. And the problem is that the more we buy into these linear perspectives and all the marketing advice and all the business stuff, the further it actually separates us from just standing in our power and in our value. And the reason for that is because, well, people who teach marketing need to make money. And this is the most widely understood thing. And it is generally aimed at very young people who want to make money in e-commerce, but it is not meant for people like you who are wisdom keepers, who are here to transform other people, who are in the area of facilitating completely life-changing experiences. And this is what happened to my client, Thomas. Thomas came to me and he was struggling. He was overwhelmed. He was doing a million different things to try to make his business work. He was a very, and still is, a very talented healer. Yet he was struggling. He was trying to do funnels and do everything all the experts were trying to tell him and try to find his niche. I think he had this Facebook group where he was calling himself like the autoimmune healing expert and making all these videos where he was trying to fit himself into a box. And we sat together and I took him through this process. And what ended up happening is he dropped all of that and just stepped into his power, owning the fact that he is actually an amazingly gifted healer and can assist people in these types of miracles. And what ended up happening over time is that his business exploded. His YouTube channel now is growing and growing and growing, and the right people are coming to work with him. And he's just simply standing in his inner Michael Jackson and doing his thing. And the same thing can happen for you. And to do this, we have to take a deeper look at why your value is valuable and what people want more than anything. And the way I like to look at it is the rocket going into the center of the galaxy analogy. Think of yourself as someone who is on an evolutionary track to the center of something that you can sense, but you can't really quite define. It's beyond words. It's your heart's calling. It's your mission in life, your purpose. That's what your soul is calling to, and that's where you're going, all right? Now, most people think of their value as that linear trajectory, that A to B thing, right? And what it ends up doing is being like a stamp in time of the trajectory of that rocket. And this is what happened for me. I basically was on a trajectory at one point, and I learned how to love myself at one point in my journey. I learned self-love. And so I thought, great, I'm going to be the self-love guy. I'm going to create my whole business around this. I'm going to have a course and everything. And it was great. And of course, it was great in the beginning, but then 3 months went by and I was still the self-love guy. 6 months and a year and 2 years, I'm still the self-love guy. Yay, self-love. But I didn't even care about any of this. I just felt dead talking about it because my rocket continued going. I kept on evolving. I was beyond that. But yet I was still trying to define myself in those terms. And that's why people weren't coming to my thing, because I felt dead talking about it. And it's very likely something like this may be happening to you right now. Maybe you know what I'm talking about. Because when you define yourself as the stamp in time, as the linear value, you basically collapse all the magic that's possible for you. And the reality is, you are more like this rocket. You are going to the center of your galaxy. This is your deepest calling. And most people think that your value is the tip of the rocket. So maybe you're a yoga teacher and at one point you created a course about yoga and that's your stamp in time, but you're evolving beyond that. At one point, I thought my thing, the tip of my rocket was self-love. That's it. That's the pinnacle of my realization. But it keeps going. And the more you evolve, the faster things change. As you grow, as you keep going in your evolution, the tip of the rocket is constantly changing. And the trail behind the rocket or the comet is actually where the value is. This is everything that's getting you there. This is your character, your strength, every dark night of the soul that you overcome, everything that you had to learn in your psyche and the depths of who you are to bring you to where you're going. This is actually what people see. This is actually what people are drawn to. But every marketer and business framework essentially teaches you, don't pay attention to that. Just define yourself by the stamp in time, and this is where your value is. Now, imagine for a moment that Jim Carrey actually does open up and say, hey guys, this year I'm opening up to mentor some students just about anything. And it's going to cost $100,000 or $1 million. Tons of people would sign up. He would sell out in a day, not just because he's famous, but because people can sense that. People can sense that in his character because they know his story. He is someone who's on a trajectory to the center of his heart. At one point, he was broke. He was living in a car. He was homeless, but he had this dream of going here and beyond this, and he did it. And that is not something that needs to be communicated through a landing page or a funnel or any of that. It is something that is sensed. It is something that is felt. And if you're someone who has gone through trials and tribulations, dark nights of the soul, if you've invested over 5 or 10 years in your education and learning how to help yourself or other people, and you can host a transformational experience from the head to the heart for someone, believe me, that has immense value and that is sensed. And people are craving that. They see inside of you that you're someone on a journey to the center of your galaxy. And when they sense that, they feel that it moves something inside of them. And they go, okay, wow, I'm going to the center of my galaxy. This person has gone to the center of theirs. It looks similar to mine. If I spend time with that person, it's going to accelerate my journey. I'm in. I want this. And if you look through your life into, I just spat out here, into the journeys you've been on, the things you've invested in, the mentors you've invested in, you can probably see this is true in your own body. Something in you just said, yes, I'm doing this. I'm all in, because you knew on a deeper level, you wanted to go beyond where you were and go on a journey. You sensed that whatever you were moving into, whatever person you were learning from, connected the dots together of something you had disconnected, and it would help you connect those dots. And this is what depth actually is. And this is what people want more than anything. They don't want your stuff. They don't want your course. They don't want the tools even that you teach and all that. They want to be close to your rocket, the proximity of your field, because that's where the magical moments of going from your head to your heart actually happen. And this is what happened for one person I worked with, Magenta. Magenta came to me and she was stuck. She was deeply stuck. She had this vision of creating retreats to bring people to swim with humpback whales in the South Polynesian Ocean. And she was stuck. She was in this linear framework of what do I do? How do I market? Will anyone come to my thing? And other people are charging this and that. And what do I do? And I just looked at her. Why are you passionate about this? And she started to step into this and tell me how, well, for me, it's this incredible life-changing spiritual experience where you go down into the water and you look the whale in the eyes and you have this out-of-body completely spiritual experience that changes who you are forever. It's the indefinable. I told her, listen, stop all that. I just want you to talk into the camera for 3 minutes and just tell the camera exactly what you just told me and just put that out there and stay in your heart and just talk about that all day to everyone that you see and just whatever. Just that's all you do. And now her retreats are sold out for 2 years in advance, and people pay her thousands of dollars to have this experience because she realized she wasn't the stamp in time. She was actually facilitating a life-changing experience for people where they go from their head to their heart and it changes their lives forever. People from all over the world come to have this experience from all walks of life. The same thing is possible for you. You are not this flat line. You are not a stamp in time. You're the rocket going into the center of your galaxy. And the only thing you have to do is remove everything that is getting in the way of you expressing that. The next step is the hardest, and it takes a heck of a lot of courage. And it is basically ripping out every single framework that you have learned about business and what you do. And I know you have followed so many gurus and teachers. Maybe you've watched a ton of Alex Hormozi videos. You got to let it go. And to let it go, we have to understand why these business frameworks actually exist and what the promise of them actually is. The reason why these frameworks exist is because, well, people who teach marketing need to make money. And so it's very easy to, again, try to do this, to take a stamp in time and replicate it, because this is something that you can very easily teach to people and systemize. So if I at one point didn't have a business and I learned how to write a headline and a landing page and how to get people to come to my videos, I can now say, okay, this is how you market a business. You write a headline and a landing page and you make these type of videos and off you go. And this is the promise of frameworks, basically training wheels for your business. Someone saying, hey, look, I did something that works. Copy it, except I want you to sprinkle your own little uniqueness in there, a little bit here, and now this will work for you. And this is basically the promise behind any kind of business framework or business advice. Take a niche, find a niche down, write a headline, define yourself, define your avatar, and now it'll work for you. And left to its own devices, it's nice. There's nothing wrong about it. It's not misinformation, but it completely misses this. And you will never get to this by following those frameworks. They're training wheels at best, and they're usually designed for very young people in their 20s, in their mid-20s, who are just getting into business. This doesn't apply to you. You are a person of depth. You are on a rocket to the center of your galaxy. You have years of experience. You're capable of sitting with someone and just by virtue of them being in your presence, holding space for them and facilitating a life-changing experience for them with whatever it is that you do and it's in your heart. You don't need to do this. And if you follow these frameworks, they may work. You may actually make money. But you will notice that it's actually soul crushing over time because you become a shadow of who you truly could be. Imagine Gandalf, the wizard from Lord of the Rings, defining himself as a mountain tour guide for people on magical quests. It is kind of a definition of what Gandalf does. That's his stamp in time. It's part of what he does, part of his journey. But is that Gandalf? Heck no. That's not who Gandalf is and what he does. And if you're up against a Balrog in the middle of a dark cave and you need someone with courage and mastery to defend you from the heart of evil, you're not going to flip through the yellow pages to look for a mountain tour guide. You need Gandalf. You need the real thing. And in the same way, those who are meant to work with you are calling for you. They need you. And the more you define yourself as a mountain tour guide, the more you're separating yourself from those people. And this is exactly what happened for me, what happened for my client Thomas I mentioned earlier, and the example with Magenta. The more you separate yourself from the thing that you really do, the less you do your thing, and the less you do your thing, the less people see you doing your thing, and so they don't really want to work with you and come to your thing. You have to have the courage to believe that there is value in spending time with you and just being present with people. You have to get curious what that value actually is, and to do that, you got to throw everything out. This basically usually means deleting everything that you've ever put out there in terms of like a website or framework and all this stuff, and just starting from scratch. Because the reality is you really don't need much. If you look at my website, it's very simple. It's just a video with arrows saying, please watch this video. And then they book a call with me. And that's where my clients come and people who want to mentor with me come. The people I work with end up doing the same thing. It's usually just one little page saying, hey, here I am. The thing is, by the time people actually reach that page, they already know you are Gandalf. They already know you are someone with life experience and you're on a rocket trajectory to the center of the galaxy. You start to see that you don't need to sell something. The greatest gift that you can actually invite people into on this planet is to invite other brothers and sisters onto the evolutionary track that you're on. And that is what your value is. After you strip away the frameworks, things become way more simple. And you realize you have way more time than you ever did. It's kind of scary. You think, okay, what do I do now? How do I market? How do I get myself out there? What do I do? How do I get clients? Relax. Just soften and just open. Again, imagine Michael Jackson thinking, how do I sell all these seats? Oh my, like that's not on his mind. What's on the mind, or what was on the mind of Michael Jackson, is creating the next thing, of being committed to his craft. Imagine Gandalf trying to figure out, like, who's going to hire me for the next quest? You're like, no, that's not what Gandalf does. You need to chill the F out and stop trying to be a circus monkey for money and start focusing on your journey. And if you notice previously, if you were occupied with trying to figure out how to do it and all this stuff in the marketing, it sucked 90% of your time. I know this is what happened for me. The moment I stopped focusing on that and started focusing on my craft, on my passion, what is this for me? That's when the change actually began to happen. For me, in my life, I have gone through a tremendous journey. I made millions of dollars in my life when I was a kid in my 20s. I then lost pretty much everything through a series of traumatic events in my life. I then got into healing, understanding how the mind-body connection works, how to heal trauma, higher levels of how to actually serve people. I invested in mentors that changed my life, where the dots began to connect for me in a different way. And I rose up from the ashes to be who I am here today. Today, I stand as somebody who can connect the dots for people in a way that few people can in a certain area. I can cross the bridge between business and healing and how to share your gift with the world and articulate that in a very beautiful way. That's who I am. That doesn't mean I'm better than people. My gift is not for everybody, but that's my gift. And that is part of my center of my galaxy. And the way I stay in the center of my galaxy is I'm committed to my craft. I love making videos like this. Before every video, I spend hours writing and thinking about these concepts. That means spending hours also in nature, being with nature, with Mother Earth, going out for walks, spending time with me, meditating, praying, being in ceremony, playing music. I am committed to my craft. I have mentors and teachers that I spend time with, and I go deeper and deeper into learning. That's what I do. That's the Jim Carrey, Michael Jackson version of me. And I notice the more time I spend in that zone, the easier things get. The more naturally people are drawn into my presence, the more I show up on a call with somebody who wants to work with me, and I just go, hey, what's up? And they just feel it's the right decision for them because they can feel those dots connecting for them. And you have to do this. And there's no way around it. The perfect way to explain it here is a video a client of mine just sent. He's a psychotherapist, and he is right now on a catamaran in Mexico having the time of his life because he's making a massive change in his life. He's actually letting go of a lot of what he did and stepping into this version of himself. And for him, that means being on a catamaran and DJing a set that's feels like love. It's one of the highlights of his life right now. And I'm just like, yes, this is what you got to do, bro. You got to drop this heaviness and just immerse yourself in you. In order for you to be the badass Joe Dispenza, Michael Jackson, Gandalf version of you, you got to find out what your thing is and stand in it. And that's how you know and other people know that you're the real deal because you're in it. You're living it. One of my favorite business mentors, he gets up in the morning. He doesn't even wear shoes. He just goes down to the beach and he sits there for 3 hours looking at the ocean, thinking and just being with himself until he has the realization of what the most important thing he has to do that day is. And he goes home and he does that for an hour, and that's his day. And he makes millions of dollars. And it's not because he's able to do that because he's rich. That's how he literally lived his life to create those kind of results in his life. You really don't need to do so much. You just got to stand in who you are and strip away everything else. All right. So at this point, you're probably thinking, this sounds great. This feels great, but what do I actually do? How do I sell this? And if you're thinking that, I got you covered. So just take a deep breath. And remember this, you're just selling tickets to the center of the galaxy. Remember, you're going from being this type of person, the A to B stamped person, to being something completely different. Instead of thinking of yourself as someone who your value is only, okay, I take people from A to B for this transformation, I am now someone who is inviting other people into an evolutionary journey, a journey that never ends. But I'm on this journey. I'm at the tipping point of the spear. I'm so committed to it. I have so much value I can share with people and assist them on the journey that they're on. And I'm inviting them into that. Of course, you're not going to stand in a video and share that and be like, I'm going to the center of the galaxy. People will not understand what you mean. This is an internal shift that you're making in your identity. So you can disconnect from this entirely. Your goal is to attract people who are on a journey and who resonate with what is truest and deepest for you. Your goal is to bring people who resonate with you by virtue of them seeing that you're on that trajectory, feeling that, and being called to what you do because you're sharing your deepest passion. And of course, the people that you meet that will gravitate towards you are going to have an A to B problem. So an example of Thomas, people still come to him who are sick, who have chronic pain. But he's no longer thinking of himself as the chronic pain guy or as the autoimmune guy. He's thinking of himself entirely differently. He stands in his value and he speaks from there. And that's where people gravitate towards him because he's no longer trying to fit himself into a box. When I speak, when I share, I speak to people who are really longing to reconnect with their power and to share it and to align it in their lives and their business. But I'm not thinking of myself as that guy. I'm standing in something completely different because I am living proof that it's possible. And every single day I'm living my life that way. And so, yes, I still have a page that invites you into kind of an A to B journey. I'm saying in my video, hey, if you want to change your life, if you want to do what you love and step into your power and your gift, come book a call with me and we'll see if we'll work together. But it's an entirely different thing. I'm putting very little effort into it. It's just an invitation. Imagine Gandalf showing up at Bilbo Baggins' house and he's going, hey, man, you want to come slay a dragon and get the treasure? Come along for the ride, right? And you're making the invitation always from the tip of your rocket, from as close as you are to your sun or the center of the galaxy. For me right now, the heart of my work is what I'm sharing right now. And the best way I can articulate it. In a year, it's going to be different. And in 2 years, I'm going to evolve. It's going to refine. It's going to get more true and more real. And this is what you essentially get to and have to give yourself the freedom to do, to draw up those frameworks, stop trying to sell the A to B thing, but instead invite people to the center of the heart of the journey that you've been on, to the best way that you can define it right now. And that's when it gets fun. And this is where all your content, if you're making content, comes from. You share the stuff that is most alive, the stuff that is most real to you right now, the stuff that you're scared to teach because you're only getting your foothold on it or just the tip of your pinky finger. You share that. You share your vulnerability, and holy crap, that's when the fun really starts. Because as you share that and you be that, other people start to come into your proximity who resonate with what you're sharing and then go, wow, whoever this person is, whatever they're sharing, whatever they're drinking, I want it because it resonates with me. And have you ever played with these connect the dot pictures when you were a kid where it makes no sense? The dots are disconnected, but then you follow the numbers and all of a sudden you have a picture. People are walking around with their version of that type of picture of these dots that are disconnected, but they forgot the numbers. And when they see you expressing from the depths of you trying to connect your picture, but you have some of the dots connected, they are magnetized to you, drawn to you, because they go, wow, they have a similar disconnected picture, but they have some of these dots connected. Maybe they'll help me connect the dots. And they come to you because they seemingly have an A to B problem, but actually there are more dots here that are disconnected in the depths of their psyche or whatever it is that you're going to help them do, that you help them connect. Their A to B problem is solved, but they've also become an entirely new person on that journey. They become a more embodied version of themselves. And ultimately, you can't put that in words. That's what you charge people money for. Now, the final and most important part of this process is the most counterintuitive, and it will bend your mind. You got to do less and charge way more. Now, most people think if they charge more money, they have to offer way more value and they have to do a whole lot more stuff. But again, by now, you should know that's because people inherently don't know what their true value is. They literally think their value is doing lots of things. The more I do, the more value I provide. And that is not true. This is completely backwards. You don't have to do more to offer more value. You actually have to go deeper with people. And the way you go deeper is you charge more. When you charge more, people value your teachings 10 times more. And here's the thing, they're more receptive to what you're teaching and what you're sharing. And when they're more receptive, your teachings and what you're sharing is 10 times more effective and they get more results. This is mind-blowing. It's hard to wrap your mind around, but you do less and you charge more. And when you do that, you actually have to do way less to create more results for people. I recently held a private retreat here for someone for a few days, and it was a life-changing experience for this individual. And I charged a hefty price for my time. And I actually thought about charging less, but I decided to stand and be in my teaching and stand my ground. And I'm so glad I did because this person received so much from the experience. We both did. When you charge more and you do less, you give yourself permission to stand in your value and to actually receive yourself, to receive value and the nourishing that you need for yourself and your family. And what happens is energetically, that person can then receive. You both receive, and it's a win-win-win relationship. And most people, they have this backwards. They try to do, and try to charge less and less. And people don't think they're valuable. And even though they're sharing amazing stuff, it's not landing with their clients and not creating the results. And it's a negative feedback loop. It's really wild how this works. And when you charge more and you do less, another thing will happen is all your internal resistance is going to come up. Who am I? Maybe I'm not valuable. Fear comes up. All that. Good. That's actually what you're here to transmute and to change. And the reason for that coming up is because you're actually stepping into a new version of yourself. So as that comes up, just know it's perfectly normal and just sit with it and get curious. Why do I feel unworthy when I double my price? Where does this come from? Oh, this is the opportunity to actually do the deepest inner work to step into this. Once you do that inner work and you stand in your value, the sky's the limit. And if you want help with that, links for working with me are down below. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you found it immensely helpful. And if you want to go deeper into this and to actually learn how to facilitate these life-changing transformational experiences as you charge more, do less, and do everything in this video, then watch this video on the circle of embrace and how to create your most powerful offering without doing a course. It will change your life. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.